Yep, I
Great.
think we're live.
I think so too. Hello, everyone. Brilliant. We are now live. I apologise for those technical difficulties. I don't like relying on technology, but we have to at a time like this. So, hi, everyone. Um, we are Stand Up Education Against Discrimination. Those of you who are tuning in who might not know what we do, we are an interfaith educational programme. So we run anti-discrimination workshops in secondary schools across the UK with a specific focus on anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hate. My name is Talia. This is my colleague Zaynab. Very excited to be here today because we can't be in schools. So we're having to change up a little bit of what we do at the moment. So we've hopped on here. We're going to be here every week at 4 p.m, hopefully not quarter past, but at 4 to talk about different topics. Please do leave a comment below about anything, any questions that you have. I will be looking at them and we will make sure we answer them. But we're going to get started. We are talking about fake news today, definitely a hot topic at the moment. Those of you who do follow us will know that Zaynab posted a fantastic article that she wrote this week all about the topic. Zaynab, do you want to tell us a little bit more about when you were doing your research, what kind of things you found, what's happening with fake news at this crazy time?
Definitely. But before I do that, I think we missed a great excuse today to have a lasagna with us live here. But
Oh,
maybe
shame.
maybe it's something we can do in our next live. So if you're interested, tune in and we'll see what we can come up with. Yeah, so the lasagna. I mean, I don't know if any of you have missed it. It was kind of something that went viral over the weekend. It definitely made my weekend. News broke of this like kind of voice note going around that sounded real, of this person who has a relative working in the Ministry of Defence here in the UK, and that apparently the government was creating a massive lasagna the size of Wembley Stadium to feed the nation. I was actually really disappointed when the news circulated that it wasn't true. If you did miss that, you can just Google it, and it's like literally the hottest topic at the moment.
It
You can
really did
find
sound really real when I listened to it. I mean, it was the garlic bread that really got me. I would have said.
Yeah, for sure. So now there's a garlic bread story and many others. People loved it. They contributed. They made their own little voice notes which circulated, and it's been brilliant. I something else that's like really current and people are enjoying are also the memes that are out there about the coronavirus, what people are doing in quarantine, etc. I think it's something that I find myself checking on daily basis now, looking for like the newest meme.
Zainab, you won't believe it, but I am now a TikTok user. It has taken coronavirus to get me on TikTok because the memes, it's just hilarious.
They're really cool. And to be honest, sometimes I think to myself, wow, like this is a global issue. It's definitely serious, yet still we're making jokes, we're enjoying these jokes. So I almost feel guilty. But I think that I'm not the only one that's enjoying it, but literally everyone out there. I think it provides a sense of positivity, laughter, humor for those stuck at home during the lockdown. So I
Yeah,
think quite a lot of people are appreciating it at the
definitely.
moment.
We can all have a giggle about these things. I think that these voice notes, to be said, the memes, there is an element where we can have a giggle, but have we seen in the past week where fake news has become a bit more problematic, and actually where's the issue there? If we can laugh about the garlic bread and the lasagna, where does it become problematic?
Yeah, so definitely laughing about the lasagna, the garlic bread, the jokes and memes out there is not an issue in itself. The reason I wrote this, obviously inspired by the lasagna, but also by my mum. And I know everyone comes out on these platforms to say that they are inspired by their mum, but actually this time I hope my mum's not watching me at this point. It was because I was concerned. So over the past week, during lockdown, she'd come to us every single day in the morning with news about I think first it started with like cures, what you should do at home, nothing to do with NHS guidelines, obviously. So first it was the garlic, then it was like salt and water, and I was worried about what would come next. And then she would share with us news that was apparently accredited or released by the government, of like being kind of sprayed down by planes or helicopters, whatever it was. So the importance of staying indoors, and lots of other things. And you know, I laughed about it. I asked her where she got this information from, and it was like several group chats that she was involved in with many other people. And first I thought it wasn't a big issue. It was probably just my mum, because she didn't have you know, the knowledge about it, just kind of something believing to stay on the just to be sure, like extra sure. But then every time I turned to my socials, where people from my community were, there were bigger stories. So one of the ones that circulated recently was that Russia had released 500 lions onto its streets to ensure there was a lockdown and that people weren't actually leaving their homes. And at the start I thought it was a joke, so I thought people were just like circulating it for banter, but actually people are commenting and saying, you know, the British government should start adopting this, which suggests they do believe it, and they were quite serious about it. And again, you know, you think, so what if people believe these ideas? But I don't think the issue is there. I think once you start to believe something as absurd as, you know, 500 lions being unleashed, what's next? And unfortunately it has circulated into bigger issues. When you think about the cures and the remedies, people started sharing scientific apparently statistics, and
it can be really scary, particularly at a time where it's all really uncertain, and it is a really scary time during the moment, at the thought of people kind of hearing misinformation and following that advice and actually not sticking to things that maybe accredited sites such as the NHS are suggesting it. That can be really scary.
Definitely. So I don't think people are sharing it due to kind of any ill intentions. I think people at this time are generally worried, they're anxious, they want information more than they are getting on daily basis, either, you know, from the government or maybe people that they know that work for the NHS, etc. They're really desperate to see where this ends and if it's ending. So I think they are first latching onto the first thing they hear, and they actually want to be the ones that are spreading it out there because they believe they are doing good for their community, for the people. Also, I think when it comes to cures, you know, unfortunately, people are believing kind of remedies and cures are circulating. And I've heard of stories of people, you know, carrying out either taking a specific medication or something, and it going completely the wrong way. But I think it's because of fear.
Yesterday on Twitter, hashtag scam aware was trending, the top trending thing yesterday afternoon. And what's that about? What scams are happening? What things are people worried about looking out for? It's kind of an increasing issue.
So I think that unfortunately some people have decided to take advantage of the current situation, people's uncertainties, vulnerability, and they have they want to make money and profit out of it. So they are either sending out an email or going door to door to offer home kits where you can check to see whether or not you have the virus. Now the NHS have clearly come out to say that there aren't such kits. Even when someone suspects that they do have the virus, even when they call the NHS, they are told to stay at home in isolation. No one's actually coming to check. And that's because the reality is, you know, a lot of people will eventually get the virus, and the best thing to do is to keep washing your hands, to stay away from people, to isolate yourself, and you know, that's what we have at the moment, and kind of taking the regular medications such as paracetamol, etc. But I think
Dr. Zaynab.
I've done my research clearly. So I think that people want these kits because they want to be certain. they think they're genuine. You know, why would anyone specifically in this climate at the moment where, you know, people are vulnerable, you know, take advantage of that? And sadly, there are people doing that. So I think people should be aware. Again, doing your research is the best thing you could do, because, you know, even when it comes to journalists, you know, everyone at the same time is writing about the coronavirus. There are
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of articles going out daily.
We were talking about this earlier. It's this idea that actually, because there's only the one thing to talk about, journalists are regurgitating, and they're just finding the closest thing that they can find to a new news story. And often what that can lead to might not necessarily be fake news, so news that is completely made up, but it might lead to sensationalism, kind of biased headlines, and also just sloppy journalism, just not checking their facts, latching onto that first thing that they find. And that's kind of where you get this spiral of fake information as well. Zaynab, I want to ask a question. I sometimes find it really difficult to tell if something is real or fake. I have been like, I'm always the person that on April Fool's Day, I always believe those April Fool's news articles.
And that's actually around the corner, so we've got a lot to worry about.
I know. So kind of any top tips, any kind of ideas that we can use as the consumer of the news, just for looking at, what would you say to me, what would you say to your mum and the people watching as well?
Definitely. So I'm not just going to blame it on my mum or her generation. It's pretty much everyone contributing to this at the moment, and I think it comes in two ways. It's about you believing it, but also it's about you circulating these ideas. So how do we combat both? So I think the best thing to do, and I've written some kind of few tips. There are definitely way more tips that you know you can adopt, but I think to start with these would be great. So the first thing is, you know, when someone comes to you with this news, when you access it yourself, where is it coming from? And that's a really important question, because as we said today, everyone and anyone's releasing any bit of information that they know or think they know, and sometimes it's definitely not checked. So, you know, is it coming from the government? Is it coming from a public speech that was made? Is there something from your mom's WhatsApp group chat? If that's the case, please don't listen to it. Also, really important to kind of check if it's on social media, because that's where a lot of ideas are circulating. Which account is posting this? Is it just an account that's out there to create banter, stories, kind of controversial ideas? Because I did also speak about the riots in 2012, where, you know, the idea of a tiger escaping, and that was a tweet that went viral and got thousands and thousands of reshares, and that's how people found out about it. So definitely checking the source, also checking the facts. So just because there's a statistic with the percentage sign doesn't mean it's accurate. Where is it coming from? Is it research done by the NHS, a party that's, you know, responsible for checking these things, or is it just, you know, someone going out there and doing like a random questionnaire that's not reliable, etc. And I think also checking our own biases is really important. As I said, people at the moment are vulnerable. There are people who are angry or scared. And often I think we surround ourselves with content, with people that prove our own biases. And I think to understand the full picture and the full story, firstly, I can't stress how important that is at the moment, but also to be careful to read a wide range of articles. Make sure you're not just reading it from one kind of source as well. So comparing other sources. I think these are the most important top tips at the moment, and also just being careful before you reshare kind of any ideas. Or
I think it's your instincts. You see that crazy story and it's like a headline like, oh my god, blah blah blah, and then your instinct is to share it on that WhatsApp group chat, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter. And actually I think it's about thinking before we share, thinking about what is that kind of source. We know that kind of fake news, the technology behind it now, whether it's creating a really realistic URL, whether it's an edited video, it can look really real, and even with the picture that's used. So actually thinking about, you know, reading it before we share
and
it.
Obviously I know that social media are trying to crack down on this. I know there's been lots of debate about information going up on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and how quickly that goes viral. And I know that the NHS are concerned about some of the remedies/cures that are circulating, and they're working closely with Facebook and Twitter to combat that. They've even released a hashtag. I've completely forgot what it's called now, but specific hashtag that is used when accurate information is being shared.
Great. We'll come back onto social media at the end because I want to talk about the specifics of each platform. We've actually got a few questions from some of the audience members, so I thought that we could discuss them. So Roxana and Marissa have both asked this idea about what's the big deal? Like, is fake news dangerous? Isn't it just banter? What's the issue there? And I think that it's a really interesting question to talk about. Where's this line? Like, what is the big deal? And I think it's this idea of the fact, firstly, who's it affecting, who's it targeting? You know, the joke about the lasagna and the garlic bread is harmless, right? It's not personal, it's not putting anyone in danger. It might make someone a bit disappointed that there isn't a giant garlic bread, but you know, it's not putting anyone in danger. There's these fake news stories about the test kits, the kind of misinformation the remedies can be really dangerous to people. And I think it's also when it's targeted to a specific group. We're not going to talk about it in this live, but in another live that we do in the next few weeks, we are going to talk about discrimination more and how we've seen a rise of discrimination towards specific groups, particularly during this period of coronavirus.
So I just have two things to say about this. Firstly, the idea of fake news is not something that affected me as a young person. It wasn't something that was around as much. We were oblivious to it, that's for sure. But I think that today it is a pressing issue because, I mean, specifically for young people, I would say social media is their primary source of information. And that's where they think they're getting their facts from. And I think they are aware to a certain point, but I think it's becoming more difficult to see what's real and what's fake. And that could, you know, impact different aspects of your life. I know for sure when it comes to the coronavirus, yes, there are jokes out there that I find absolutely hilarious, but I think the line becomes unclear and people get excited, they get carried away, and you know, at some point you are undermining a situation which is not just affecting us here in the UK but the world as a whole. When it comes to the lockdown, people are, you know, posting hilarious videos about how it feels to be locked down, what they're going to do after the lockdown, etc. And I don't have an issue with that, but I think when it's someone posting, you know, a video saying, you know, I think conspiracies are alive and well, even about the coronavirus, people saying, you know, it's a way for the government to keep people in their homes, etc. When you say that,
I've heard that it's Greta Thunberg's revenge. So many conspiracies.
Brilliant. So once you start sharing and circulating these ideas, someone could get influenced, leave their home. By leaving their home, they are not just putting themselves in danger, but also others, because we know the seriousness of and how quick this virus can spread from one person to another. So you are halting kind of a whole process that the government's trying their best to put in place to ensure that people are following the guidelines and are staying safe.
Yeah. We've had another question about this idea about, is fake news a new phenomenon? Because I think it's really interesting what you said, Zay, that you said that it wasn't really a big deal when you were a child and growing up, and you weren't really aware of it. I think I would answer to that question yes and no, and then you can tell me what you think. So I think yes, in the sense that I think that with the kind of rise of social media, everyone becomes a journalist in their own right? It means that I can see something happening on the street, I can pick up my phone, go on Twitter, tweet it, I then become a news source. And I think that social media has facilitated that in a way that before that you didn't really have. You had people who were journalists and that was their job.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a new phenomenon. I think that we've seen fake news that has been around for centuries, whether it is anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that kind of circulated, all different things, blaming different communities for these things that would have been sent in pamphlets and leaflets through printing presses before social media existed. So I don't think it's a new phenomena. I think that the way in which it occurs is new. I think that it is more online, and I think it's been politicized as well. I think that it has been used as a buzzword. I won't mention somebody across the pond, but it has been used as this new buzzword. So I feel like people are hearing it more, are tuned into it more because it's kind of this new idea.
I completely agree with you. This is why I say social media platforms are a blessing and a curse. I think that people often are defensive to say maybe this word fake news is used to protect communities from criticism, whether it's protecting kind of Muslims from people like commenting on the religion, etc. But I think that the danger is growing. I think it's something that's increasing in recent years. And I think that, as you said, it is a threat to democracy. It's become politicized, unfortunately. And I think that it's not about just about where fake news is now, but I think what is yet to come, which is kind of terrifying. Something we discuss in our sessions when we talk about media and propaganda is deep fakes, and this idea that, you know, it's not as easy to tell anymore. I'm not the expert for sure, but you know, there are videos out there created using artificial
what a deep fake is before.
So kind of using artificial intelligence to create content, whether it's a video where it looks extremely realistic. I think it's kind of lip syncing or adding content to a video where it looks like the person is actually saying these things, but they're not. And it's used, it's created using technology and kind of easy kind of platforms are that people can easily have access to as well.
So there was for those of you who haven't seen it, there's a think tank called Future Advocacy who created 2 deep fakes, so these fake artificial intelligent videos, one of Boris Johnson and one of Jeremy Corbyn, in the lead up to the December 2019 election here in the UK, just to raise awareness about it, and they are so real. Anytime we often show it in sessions, but when I first watched it in the office, I was like, wait, I'm so confused. I just didn't understand what I was watching. I was watching a video of Boris Johnson. It looked like Boris Johnson, but it wasn't. And actually, it's really that there's technology out there now. It's not just fake news. It's, as I said, the technology that goes with that kind of creates more things, and these deep fakes and all kind of different posts that make it problematic as well. Zaynab, if I want to talk about reporting, so we've spoken about how we can spot it. We've spoken about like kind of the things to look out for, but what if you want to take that one step further? I think a lot of the people who will be watching will want to know if there's an action that they can take, because sometimes these things can be, you know, they get people really riled up. Like what can we do about it? If we saw a piece of fake news, how do we report that?
So I think we all do have a social responsibility. These platforms online are for us. And there are a number of ways to report on social media. So yes, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are trying to crack down on this. Some have automated system that picks up hate speech, fake news, etc. But it's not always as reliable. So they actually rely on people online to use their common sense, etc., to kind of report anything that they see and they think is problematic in any way, shape or form. It doesn't obviously mean that it will always be taken down, but I've tried reporting myself. I've tried it on Facebook, I've tried it on Instagram, and it's worked. So firstly, it's just important for people to know that it's anonymous, so the person doesn't find out that you reported them.
I think that's a massive deterrent for people when it comes to reporting. They're really scared that the person that they report is going to find out. Or there's going to be kind of, I think that anonymity really helps people to encourage people to report.
For sure. It's also a really easy process. So it takes about 15 to 20 seconds at max a minute.
If I was to see a post on Instagram that I thought was spreading this idea of fake news, how would I report on Instagram?
So it depends whether you are reporting a post or an account. Both will have 3 dots at the top. So you just click the 3 dots. It says report. So you click on report and then you get a number of options. And then, you know, depending on what it is, you would click, I think the first thing you do is inappropriate, and then it gives you about 7 options. You click the one which it relates to. And
now they're giving you the option for fake or false information in that as well.
Definitely. And the person will be notified that their post has been reported, but it does not say reported by who. It will say that if it goes against the guidelines, it will be taken down, and then that is followed by a notification to say whether it's been taken down or not. Hasn't been taken, you as reporting it will also be notified, and then in that case you can, you know, take it further, or you decide what to do with that. There are also organizations that you can report to, so you know, if it's anything affecting for example the Jewish community, you can report it to the CST. Anything affecting the Muslim community, tell mama. And there's also Kick It Out for any discrimination in football, Gallup for any discrimination against the gay, lesbian, bisexual and trans community, and there's also True Vision for any other type of discrimination. And finally, also the police non-emergency number, which is 101, and you could also report online, so you can fill out an online form.
We can link all those organisations below after this live is over as well. I think it's really important actually to remember that those organisations are there to help you, not just for discrimination, but also, you know, if you saw something that didn't sit well with you and you felt like that wasn't spreading a good message, you can report that as well. We've had another question over here. Also, hi, Tanya has said that she misses us. We miss you too. We wish we were with the Allen Senators at the moment.
Hi, Tanya.
But is fake news always ill-intentioned? Really interesting question.
Yeah.
And I definitely not. I think we kind of spoke about that at the beginning. You know, with the things, the WhatsApp voice notes about funny things, it isn't always well intentioned. It is intentioned even. Sometimes it's to make people laugh. Sometimes it's just for April Fool's Day, and it's just, you know, it's not ill intentioned. I think sometimes also people share things just by mistake. So it's not that maybe the original post wasn't well intentioned, but people see it, they believe it. As you say, maybe people who aren't as savvy as spotting that fake news, and then they might share it, and then someone else might share it. And yeah, so it might not necessarily always be ill-intentioned, but I do think it's kind of the nature of the way that things go viral can really accelerate that at a speed.
And look, I think it's a process. I don't think people have kind of the knowledge, or it's something that they come with where they can, you know, spot fake news, that's it, never circulating it again, and that, you know, that's the end of it. I don't think it's like this. I think that fake news is something that can't just go away, you know. I know that I will probably you know, probably find myself maybe at some point recirculating it, not intentionally, but just because it looks extremely real. So yeah, I don't think it's always you know, I don't think there's always an ill intent in sharing it, specifically with young people, I would say, because from the research that we've to tell if the post is fake or real, and they are less likely to report it afterwards as well. They're more likely to share it and tell people about it as opposed to reporting it.
Really interesting. Those were the Ofcom stats from last year, weren't they, where kind of a group of 11 to 16-year-olds were looked at, and it's that the group of students knew that fake news was an issue. They were really unsure that the news that they were reading was true or not, but then they weren't, like, their first instinct was to either ignore it or share it, which obviously kind of doesn't help.
And we definitely know as well that, sorry Talia, that young people are aware, they are interested, they still want to keep up with the news, and they want to create platforms where they feel safe, where positive ideas are also circulating. I know this because on the Allen Senate programme we've had students from the school Noah Hill, but also from Watford boys who are creating projects or have created projects to look at news in a positive, inspirational, and also from kind of young goggles, if I could say so as well, where they want to tackle this issue.
I was actually going to say, talking about this idea of kind of positivity, because, you know, we always get to a point in these conversations where we've like bashed the news and bashed journalists, and actually, you know, there are so many people out there doing incredible work, and it's about just making sure that you are sharing the right things and reading the right things, but also stepping out of an echo chamber. And we always talk about this idea of being in an echo chamber and how that can lead someone down a slippery slope of kind of their intake of news. I know that I definitely find myself in an echo chamber, or once did. You know, I follow people on social media. I consume my news from sites that people have similar political values, like-minded individuals, my friends who kind of, you know, have similar ideas. And I've seen at points of whether it's a general election or a point, like a big political event that's happening around the world, I will only be seeing one opinion on my social media feed, because it's a curated news feed that I've made for myself. And actually, I think it's really important to kind of step out of that sometimes as well, and think about what are other people's opinions. Thinking about it, is the news that you're consuming intersectional? Are you reading news that's coming from people of different backgrounds, faiths, religions, ages, that are writing across the country, because one person's experience is not the same as another? And I actually think it's important to kind of recognize that, and that can also be a contributing factor to the spread of fake news. We work very closely with an organisation called Hope Not Hate, and we did training with them recently where they told us of a elderly man who likes a page of the royal family page on Facebook, and slowly the algorithm started suggesting kind of more nationalist, more right-wing kind of views, or kind of this idea, or like fake news stories were popping up, because he fell into this echo chamber. Obviously there's nothing wrong with the royal family or liking a page about the royal family on Facebook, but I just think it's about being wary about the echo chamber that you find yourself in, if you find yourself in that.
Definitely. I think it's a combination of knowledge, experience. As we said, it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. I'm still trying to improve on my skills. But yeah, it's also becoming more difficult. So it's just about knowing how to manage that and taking the responsibility. You know, just because someone released it and it's fake doesn't mean that by sharing it, posting it, I'm not also contributing to that.
Yeah, and I just think one thing that I also want to say is, particularly in this time, is about switching off for a bit. I think that our mental health is so important during this time, and actually there is a tendency, and I was definitely this type of person, that a couple of weeks ago I was refreshing my news apps, like any new information. I'd be in a session, come out of a session, look at the news, and actually, you know, whilst these things are going on, we all want to stay up to date, and obviously that's a really important thing and a really positive thing, but it's about checking in with yourself as well and thinking, how often am I consuming this news, and where's it coming from? I personally have limited myself to twice a day. At the moment, I'll look at the news in the morning and I'll look at the news in the afternoon, not so close before bedtime, but that's been one way that's been really helpful, because there's a constant stream of information at the moment, and everyone's writing about the same thing. So yeah,
also I think the key here is not to kind of distrust these platforms, because as you said, they're important, they're doing amazing work. We wouldn't really know what the NHS are doing and what they're going through if we didn't have people reporting about it. I think it's just about empowering yourself and others to use these platforms in a positive way, where you are spreading positivity and kind of powerful messages, specifically at a time like this, where people need this, they will appreciate it. And you know, it's not, as you said, Talia, it's not doom and gloom from us. We are positive about this. We are positive about the work that's being done. We love our journalists. You never know, if my lasagna post goes viral, maybe I'll leave stand up to do that.
Don't you too.
I think the work that's been done is amazing. I just think, and we do appreciate it. I just think it's about recognizing our own responsibility, whether it's on social media, just generally, kind of take a role into spreading this positivity.
And also not being afraid to use your voice as well, whether that's kind of you know, it's sending an email to a newspaper to question or query a headline that they've written, or reporting a news article that you've seen on social media that doesn't sit right with you. I think we all have a voice, and we can all use it. Any more questions from the audience before we sign off? I'm just having a look here, but this has been great. We will be here every Thursday. We have some really fun things planned, and we'll be back to discuss lots of different topics, both coronavirus related and non-coronavirus related.
Also, we will try our best, if you've missed the first part of this, most of it, some of it, we'll try our best to upload it on our social media, as well as our YouTube channel, Stand Up Education. So if you'd like to keep up, just make sure you access it and you find it there. And also, hopefully we won't have any tech issues in the future. Talia should be an expert after today, so
I really tried. No one ever trusts me with technology. I'm like the worst person. But no, this was brilliant. We will say goodbye, and have a lovely evening, everyone, and go read your news responsibly.
stay safe.
Bye.